Anjana. So today I am your food safety trainer, and the topic we are going to discuss today is food safety control measures. So what is food safety? Let us first understand what is food safety before we go to the topic control measures. So what is food safety? Any food that will not cause any harm, injury or illness to the customer, we call it safe food. That is, the food is safe for consumption. It will not cause any harm, injury or illness to the consumer. So how can a food become unsafe? Food can become unsafe by the presence of hazards. So what are hazards? Hazards are any physical, chemical, microbiological or allergenic agents that can be present in the food, and when the customer takes that food, it will cause harm, injury, illness to the customer. So that's how a food becomes unsafe and it will cause negative effects to the customer. And as a manufacturing industry, why is it necessary for me, for us, to consider the aspect of food safety? Why? Because if we don't take care of the food safety, then set of complications. So the first one will be foodborne illnesses. The customer or the consumer who is taking your food will be affected by a foodborne illness if the food is having some kind of microorganism. So it will be a hazard to his life. The second one is the customer complaint. If there are any physical hazards inside the food you produce and you gave to the customer will file a complaint against you. And the third one is the loss of reputation. As a brand of providing food, of food manufacturing, our brand reputation will be threatened, and of course we will have to face the legal obligation. So these are the set of consequences we have to face if we are not providing safe food. Okay? So now we are moving on to our actual topic, which is the control measures. So what are control measures? Control measures are any action or activity that can prevent or eliminate a food safety hazard. You know what are hazards now. What are hazards? Hazards can be any agent that are causing illness, injury, harm to the customer. The hazards you already know. The hazards can be of 4 types. First one is physical, second one is chemical, third one is microbiological, and the fourth one is allergenic. So what are physical hazards? Physical hazards can be like any physical items, physical material that is present, that can be present in your food. Maybe accidentally you are adding it to your foods. For example, if you don't have a proper jewelry policy in your establishment, the workers are wearing any earring or bindi or something like that, the small, it can accidentally fall into the food and then it will cause a physical hazard. Okay? Or hair, anything like that, hair, jewelry or thread or some small pieces that are accidentally falling into the, like chipping off your bucket or some vessels or like that. So all that will be a physical hazard. Coming to the chemical hazard. By chemical hazard we mean we are using many chemicals in our factory, like hand washing chemicals, cleaning chemicals, sanitizer, pest control chemicals. So you will have to be careful when you are using all these chemicals, otherwise they will pose a risk to the food safety. How? If you are not washing your utensils properly and the traces of soap is there, then it becomes a chemical hazard. You are putting your food into the bucket, it becomes a chemical hazard. Or there are other chemicals also that are like present in the food, which has to be in a proper limit, otherwise it will cause a hazard to the consumer. So that is called the chemical hazard. And the third is the microbiological hazards. As you know, microbiology means the bacteria, virus, protozoa, anything that we cannot see with our naked eyes. So you know the human body is itself a complete set of microbiological organisms. Maybe bacteria we have, like our body harbors microorganisms. So if we touch the food with naked hand without wearing gloves, then the bacteria in your hand can transfer to the food. That is how you are risking the food. And the food, when the consumer takes it, it will cause hazard. Okay, so that is why we have a control measure, like we have to wear proper PPEs, wear gloves, wash hands. So we are doing all this to prevent this hazard from affecting our food. And the fourth one is allergenic hazard. So allergens are some food that can cause allergy to the consumer. We have identified around 14 allergens which will cause allergenic reaction to the customer. So if the customer is unaware that the product is having this allergen, he will consume it, and certain conditions in his body, he will react. The body will react to that allergen. It might be in the form of cough, vomiting, rashes, and sometimes death also. So to prevent these hazards from occurring in our food, we'll have to take few measures which are called the control measures. So it is any action or activity that can prevent or eliminate a food safety hazard. Okay. The next slide is moving on to the first control measure we are going to discuss. It is personal hygiene. So the first point is clothing and protective gears. So why we are emphasizing on personal hygiene? As a food handler, you are handling food that is you are going to give the consumer. So it should not give any harm to the consumer. So you have to be in a proper personal hygiene. You have to maintain your proper personal hygiene throughout the food production. So the first point is clothing and protective gears. By this we mean we have to wear proper mask, proper hairnet, proper clean uniforms while we are doing food processing. What will this do is it will reduce the risk of contaminating food with body fluids, dirt and other contaminants. As I already told you, our hand, we have a lot of microorganisms in the whole body. So we should be taking proper care that we should not contaminate the food with all this what you have in your body. Okay, so that is why it is not recommended. It is strictly prohibited to put your hands inside your ears, to nose pick, to cough, to sneeze inside, like when you are handling the food products. Okay, if you are really deliberate to sneeze, what you have to do is you have to do this. Second point is hand washing. Why we recommend hand washing? It prevents the transfer of harmful microorganisms. For example, you are going to the toilet and you cannot directly enter to the production factory. Why? Because it will bring all the microorganisms from your body, from the washroom to the products, to the processing area. So you will have to wash your hands. And another example is you are handling products. In between, you will have to do many other tasks like handling other materials also. So you don't have to cross-contaminate there also. So you will have to frequently wash your hands. So this is how you are protecting your food from unwanted hazards. Third one is the personal health. If you are unwell, like you are having fever, vomiting, diarrhea, cold, you should not come to work. You will have to report to the supervisor, and you will have to stay away from coming to work. Why? Because you cannot introduce your microbiological flora to the food. Okay? So a person carrying a contagious disease or having an infected wounds can easily transfer pathogens to food through direct contact, coughing or sneezing. So if you have wounds, you'll have to properly cover it with the bandage. The bandage we recommend is blue color. Why blue? Because no products is having blue color. Food product is having blue color. by any chance it strips off and falls into the food, you can directly see it. So that way also you can prevent a physical hazard and a microbial hazard from happening. So whenever you are ill, you are sick, you shouldn't come to work. You inform your supervisor, you can take a leave. And you should come to work only when all the symptoms of your illness have completely recovered. And for maintaining this personal hygiene, we have few policies like visitor policy, jewelry policy, of course personal hygiene policy. By having these policies, we ensure we are giving instruction, we are giving proper guidelines to the people that these are the policies we have, and you have to abide by these policies whenever you are entering a food manufacturing area. Moving to the next slide, it is premise design and layout. Premise design and layout. Why is it important? It is important because you should not contaminate your products. The plant should always have a linear workflow. By linear workflow, I mean you cannot use the same area where you can wash utensils, you're handling raw food, you're handling cooked food. So it should have a linear workflow. By linear workflow, I mean the product should be from RL to FG. No other processes should interfere in this line. So the best method or the best premise design will be raw material, finished product. How it will be if it is like this? Raw material, finished product. Your raw material you are processing from here, you are attaining a certain step, and then you are processing, and again the finished good is crossing this point, which means the raw material and the finished good will have a cross contamination over here, and then it will be unsafe. So this is not a good premise design. The best design is like this, the linear workflow. Okay? Then personal hygiene facilities. Your premise should have proper facilities for hand washing, changing, change rooms, toilets, pantry, all personal hygiene facilities. And the personal hygiene facilities will include the provisions of soap, hand wash, sanitizer, hand drying facilities, proper water in proper temperature. All that facilities is called personal hygiene facilities. Washing and disinfection facilities. Your machines, your vessels you are using in the processing has to be washed. It cannot be washed in somewhere near to the raw material area or the finished good area. So it has to have a proper area where you have to wash the machines, the utensils, everything you use. Next is the segregation of waste and waste management. You need to have a proper waste collection bins. Those bins have to be emptied regularly, and you have to have a proper waste management system. You cannot drop waste here and there, contaminating the whole factory. So this can be a source of major contamination. So the waste has to be segregated from the raw material, finished product, vessels, everything. The waste needs to have a proper space, proper place where it can be kept and emptied regularly, cleaned regularly. Okay? And the next point is temperature control. Temperature control means the whole facility must be temperature controlled. It cannot be too hot or too cold. It has to be an ambient temperature. It has to be the temperature, the product you are handling, it has to be in accordance with the product you are handling. Okay? And the next is readily cleanable surfaces. The floor surfaces, if you see, it cannot be like this. It has to have a curve like this. If it has a curve like this, it is like cleaning is very easy through this way. Okay? If it is like this, dirt and debris will accumulate here, and this is very difficult for you to clean. And the windows, every surfaces should be easily cleanable. That is, it should be like this. So no dust, dirt accumulation will be there in this area. Okay. Then good lighting. You need to have proper lighting facilities in your premise, so the worker is able to see the product properly. Okay. So any physical hazards, anything he can directly identify. Okay. Next is the drainage. Proper drainage system. The water that you are using for the production, whatever water it may be, it has to have a proper drain lines connecting to the main drainage. It has to drain properly. It cannot have water all over. Water lodgings are not recommended because it will harbor flies, mosquitoes like those. Pests can be attracted to that. So the drainage system should be proper. Also, it should be proofed. It should be covered. It cannot be open. If it is open, the pests that are inside the drains can come into the facility. So all this should be taken care of. Next slide, it is time temperature control. So you all know what is the danger zone. The danger zone is the temperature between 5 degrees Celsius to 60 degrees Celsius. So any food that is kept in between this temperature will spoil because the microbiological agents like the bacteria is multiplying vigorously. Okay. To 60 degrees Celsius, it is multiplication. And how the bacteria will multiply? One bacteria will not multiply it's a different mechanism. One bacteria will give rise to two bacteria, and this one bacteria will give rise to two bacteria. In 30 minutes time, it will double. So the multiplication is very vigorous that the food kept in this temperature will spoil maybe within 2 hours. Okay. So that is why we recommend not to keep the food in between 5 to 60 degrees Celsius. The control strategy we use here is food should not be stored below 5 degrees or above 60 degrees Celsius. How to store below 5 degrees Celsius? Below 5 degrees you can store by refrigeration or freezing. The refrigeration temperature is less than 4 degrees and the freezing temperature is minus 18 degrees Celsius. In minus 18 degrees Celsius, the microorganisms, all the metabolic activities will stop. It will not grow, nothing. So, it will remain dormant. No growth, spoilage or pathogens. Nothing will happen in this 18 degrees Celsius. In refrigeration temperature, the spoilage, the growth is slow, okay? And most pathogens will not grow in below 5 degrees Celsius, below 4 degrees Celsius temperature. Okay? So in the danger zone, it is a growth is rapid, it multiplies. In 60 degrees Celsius, it is too hot that the bacteria will start to die. Okay? And then in 100 degrees Celsius, the bacteria is completely dead. It destroys most of the pathogens in 60 degrees Celsius and above. Okay? That is how the time temperature control is very important. The food should not be kept for more time, more than 2 hours in the 5 to 60 degrees Celsius. Next slide is the allergen management. I already discussed what are allergens in the previous discussion when we were discussing about the hazards. Okay, so this is the allergenic hazards. There are certain compounds that are allergenic to people and it will cause allergenic reactions. Allergenic reactions are reactions like scratching, like itching, rashes, cough, sneezing, swollen lips, vomiting or sometimes death. And the controls we can use here are avoid cross-contamination. You have to always keep allergens and non-allergens in different areas. It has to be properly segregated. Separate utensils has to be used for handling allergens and non-allergens. Same utensils cannot be used. Color coding. Different color coded tools should be there. To physically see what material you are handling and what is the tool you are using. It should be, for example, allergens has to be blue color. The spoon should be blue color. You providing your area should be labeled, not the area is for non-allergens, this area is for allergens. And clear labeling, you mean the FG, the finished product, the cooked product you are giving, it has to be properly labeled, or you have to inform your customer that this product is having this allergen. So if you are allergic to this allergen, the customer will not take that product. And for example, in the product you can label it is produced in the same manufacturing company where it is handling different sort of allergens. You can mention the allergens. So if the people are allergic to that particular material, he will not consume. Okay. The risk groups are like old, young, immune compromised, pregnant people, because their immunity is gone. It is like developing. In case of young, in case of ill people, it is compromised. So they will not be able to handle such reactions in the body. And finally, the body will react to producing these reactions, and sometimes death also. Okay. Moving to the next slide, it is pest control. What is pest? Any animal, insect, bird which lives in our food, in our company, that is a pest. Why? The pest will harbor microorganisms. Okay, it will transfer to food, it will feed on our food, it will give a lot of complications in our food. The body remains can be present in the food, and all this will make the food contaminated. Okay, so we need to eradicate the pest. How can we identify if our companies harboring some pest? You can visually see it. If there are any damaged cartons, damaged food, the packaging is damaged, you have to find that if there is some situation in your company, a pest is there, and you have to eradicate it. Or you can side spot the pest itself, like a cockroach, rat, or you can see the droppings. So all this you have to take care. So how you will control it is by a use of a reputable pest contractor. Having a reputable pest contractor, because he will come to your company, he will analyze the company, he will continuously monitor what all the activities are there, any pest is there, he will install baits like rat baits and baits for cockroaches, he will do chemical treatments, all that he will do. Okay? Denial of food harborage. Your place has to be always clean. The place is clean and tidy, no food is left outside. Food should not be left outside without cover, and no spillages. The spillages should be removed, waste should be removed, all that you have to do. Waste management. Waste cannot be accumulated, it should be emptied regularly. Staff training. The staffs has to be trained. Why pest control is important? What is the necessity of pest control? What are the consequences if there are pests? All that training the staff should be aware. Denial of access. What do you mean by denial of access? It means you are stopping the pest from entering to the premise. Like proofing and maintenance, keeping doors closed, keeping windows closed, air curtains. By all this, you are stopping the particular pest from entering the factory. Doors closed, you are prohibiting any animal or insects from coming. Windows closed, you are prohibiting insect from entering the factory. Air curtains is also for the insects. Next, we are discussing few physical control measures how to control pests. UV fly killers. For insects, you can use UV fly killers. For cockroaches, you can keep cockroach monitoring traps. For rats, it is rodent trap, hormone traps, sticky fly papers for insects, and few chemical controls are rodenticides that are solid based on powders like chemical agents that you can keep to kill the pest. Insecticides. Okay. Knockdown and residual dust rates. Insecticide, chemicals that are used to kill the insects. Gels and sprays. For cockroaches, you might have seen the contractor coming. In the lockers, he is putting a small gel paste into the locker. By that, he is controlling the cockroaches. Fumigation. It will kill all the insects that are present in that area by fumigating. Narcotizing. So these are some chemical controls we have to eradicate pest in our factory. So by this we have reached to the end of our presentation. If you have any questions or any comments, any doubts regarding the topic we have discussed now, you can comment below and I will reach out to you for further discussion. Okay. Okay, thank you.